Father Brennan questions Father Harris about a secret occult plot. Harris, visibly shaken, hands Brennan a photo of a baby with the name Shauna on it. Shortly after, Harris is killed by a falling pipe. In 1970 Rome, during left-wing protests, American novitiate Margaret Dano arrives at the Bizzardelli orphanage. She meets Cardinal Lawrence, Father Gabriel, Sister Silva, Nun Angelica, and her roommate Luz. Luz takes Margaret to a disco, where Margaret dances with a man named Paolo before blacking out. She wakes up the next day with no memory of the previous night. Margaret befriends Carlita, a troubled orphan with disturbing visions. Father Brennan warns Margaret that evil things happen around Carlita. Margaret sees Carlita showing Angelica a drawing of a restrained pregnant woman. Soon after, Angelica sets herself on fire and hangs herself. Brennan reveals that some church members, desperate to regain power as secularism rises, want to bring the Antichrist to scare people back to the church, with Carlita meant to be his mother. During a field trip, Margaret has demonic hallucinations. Sister Silva postpones Margaret's vows and orders her to stay away from Carlita. Margaret later sees Paolo, who tells her to look for the mark before being fatally hit by a truck. Margaret sneaks into Sister Silva's office and discovers a hidden chamber with files labeled Shauna. Each file has a photo of a disfigured baby with a birthmark shaped like 3 sixes. Carlita is the only apparent survivor. Margaret sees the mark on Carlita's palate before being caught and imprisoned. Father Gabriel rescues Margaret, and together they find out another baby survived. Margaret finds the mark on her own scalp and remembers being impregnated during a satanic ritual the night she blacked out at the disco. The devil must mate with his own child to conceive the Antichrist, and Margaret was brought to Rome because Carlita is too young. They try to get the pregnancy aborted, but their car is hit, and Margaret's womb suddenly fills. She wakes up strapped to a hospital bed, greeted by Cardinal Lawrence, the conspiracy's leader. She gives birth to twins, a girl and a boy, the latter being the Antichrist. Margaret stabs Lawrence, but cannot kill her son. Luz stabs Margaret, and the conspirators take the boy and set the chamber on fire to cover their tracks. Carlita saves Margaret and her daughter, and Margaret sees a demonic jackal, her attacker, in the flames. The boy is given to American diplomat Robert Thorne to replace the child his wife Catherine supposedly miscarried. Years later, Margaret lives in seclusion with Carlita and her daughter. Brennan warns her that the conspirators are searching for her, and that her son is now named Damien. The saying, "The devil is in the details," holds true for The First Omen, directed by Akasha Stevenson. This stylish and skillful horror film is a prequel that adds fresh atmosphere, originality, and urgency to a familiar Hollywood formula. Set in 2024, the movie tells a timely story about a patriarchal system trying to control women's bodies for power. As a prequel to a film from almost 50 years ago, The First Omen has to end where The Omen begins, which might confuse new viewers. It also changes some of the original 1976 movie's details. The ending is clear but terrifying. Sister Margaret, a young nun, discovers she is the child of a follower of Christ and a jackal. She is also pregnant with what the church hopes is the Antichrist. Raised by the Roman Catholic Church and Cardinal Lawrence, Margaret is meant to be offered to the jackal beast to create a male heir, the Antichrist. Unexpectedly, Margaret gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The evil sect focuses on the boy, believing he will bring darkness to the world. Margaret tries to kill the boy and gets revenge on Cardinal Lawrence, but she is stabbed by her friend, Sister Luz. The boy is saved and given to American diplomat Robert Thorne, while Margaret, her daughter, and the jackal are left to burn. However, Margaret and her daughter are saved by Carlita, another daughter of the devil. Years later, living in hiding, Margaret is warned by Father Brennan that the cult knows they are alive, and that her son, now called Damien, also lives. This plot twist can be confusing for both new viewers and fans of the 1976 film. In the original, Damien was born of a female jackal who mated with Satan. The First Omen changes this by making Margaret the unwilling mother of the Antichrist in a scene similar to Rosemary's Baby. The jackal is shown as a half-human figure, adding layers of incest and violation to the story. Director Stevenson explained that they wanted Damien's birth to be even more disturbing. The film shows the jackal as a male figure, highlighting the horror of Margaret's situation and the demonic incest involved. Another big change is how the cult within the church is shown. Unlike the original, where Satanists had infiltrated society, suggests that parts of the church itself are helping the Antichrist rise. Father Brennan explains that some in the church, scared of losing followers, believe the Antichrist will scare people back to faith. This twist changes our view of the original film, adding depth to Father Spiletto's actions and regrets. Sister Silver, revealed as Margaret's mother, volunteered to be with a jackal-headed demon and is willing to sacrifice her daughter and granddaughter. If we consider the original 3 Omen movies as canon, Damien's story ends with Christ stopping his rise to power. However, the First Omen hints at another story. Margaret, Carlita, and Damien's twin sister survive, suggesting potential for future tales. Stevenson is interested in exploring the Jackal's backstory and Sister Silver's role in the plot, hinting at a rich universe of stories within the Omen series.